My way of getting into cybersecurity was very odd. I honestly didn't even know what cybersecurity was before I started college. So I did university. I'm older than people think, which I feel blessed. Most people in cybersecurity don't have social media because they're so scared of their online presence. I always knew that I had a bigger purpose in life. And I was like, I want to help as many people as possible. I didn't know what that looked like. I've always said that even since I was a little kid. And so when social media came around and TikTok was a thing, once TikTok announced that they were moving stuff over to the US, I was like, okay, I feel comfortable. I read their privacy policy. I was like, but I'm only starting a TikTok if it's a force for good. I had 3 pillars in mind for the reasons why I started. 1 was to get more women and diversity into STEM careers. 2 was to inspire more people to get into cybersecurity as a whole, like demystify what the heck cybersecurity is and how to have a career in it. And the 3rd was just to educate the public on cybersecurity tips, because I would always get asked all these crazy questions, and I was like, okay, maybe I should just start a channel about it.
Hello, my wonderful listeners, and welcome to this week's CATAMANIA episode. I feel like I'm about to get a little bit philosophical unnecessarily, but we live in a world where obviously all of us are on our phones. We're constantly using our technology. I don't know at this point what you need to be doing or what you could be doing in your life to not be involved in any way, shape, or form with technology. So cybersecurity has been an interest of mine in the last couple of years. I've only really dived into it on a very basic level. Certain things like, obviously I'm pretty public in my social media life, not posting in real time and all of those safety tips that I have shared with you guys before. But I wanted to chat with somebody who really understands that area. So I found my guest today, Ms. Sarian, who is a cybersecurity expert. And I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this episode. So enjoy, stay blessed. And as always, if you like this episode of my podcast, remember to give it a like, thumbs up, whatever the heart like button is on the platform that you're listening to this on. And without further ado, welcome, Caitlin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to chat with you. We've had quite a few conversations already about many interesting things.
So many.
But tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to specifically cybersecurity and what you're doing today.
Yeah, so my way of getting into cybersecurity was very odd. I honestly didn't even know what cybersecurity was before I started college. So I did university. I'm older than people think, which I feel blessed. But when I went to university, I did engineering, and I also didn't understand what engineering was. This is back in the 2000s, so a while ago. And I used to think engineering was like a car mechanic or anything like that. And I did engineering randomly. And I did a lot of engineering internships, but every internship I did, I was like, I don't know if I can see myself here, for more than 3 to 5 years. And I was really looking for, at that point, like a job that I could be for the rest of my life, because that's what I saw my parents doing. And so I was applying to technology consulting roles. And when I was applying to different companies, one of the interviews, the lady asked me if I'd be interested in cybersecurity. And I had no idea what that meant. But in my head, I was like, I was thinking about a guy in a hoodie, like hacking the government. And I was like, sounds interesting. But I also did coding in school. I had to do a couple semesters of coding, and I was terrible at it. But I didn't want to tell this lady, because obviously I want to get every job and then decide after. And so I kept going through the interviews, and I ended up getting the job. And I was like, okay, I'm actually really interested. Like, let's see where this goes. And if I don't like cybersecurity, then I can go into different parts of tech consulting. So I literally got in randomly through an interview, started learning everything on the job, which is one of the reasons why I started my platform, because everyone always has so many questions about how to get in, and I want to inspire and encourage everyone to get into cybersecurity. The other thing is that you don't need to know how to code, which was the other reason why I'm like, everyone thinks I'm some freaky genius, and really I learned everything on the job, and I just love learning. So I did cybersecurity for 6 years with EY in consulting, and I was able to move to London and start cybersecurity practices. And then I kept going. In the last 4 years, it's been crazy madness. I've changed companies 3 times. Most recently, I led TikTok cybersecurity global advocacy and culture team. So it was like a pretty large team for TikTok. My main job was to educate the public and the employees about cybersecurity best practices, and also understand and help TikTok in the news around cybersecurity. So as you can tell. My job was very interesting and I learned a lot. But I really started getting into influencing, which I don't know. Are you weird about saying it? You're an
So
influencer?
weird.
It makes me
So
so
weird.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Oh man, and I don't know why it makes me so uncomfortable because there's so much opportunity and success. Like it's a legitimate business.
Yeah,
that
like kids want to be an influencer.
Influencers, exactly. But I think probably we have very like old fashioned view of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I told my mom, I'm quitting my corporate audit career and basically going to be doing influencing full time. My mom was like, what?
Yeah.
What is that? So I usually say I'm a blogger. And I do social media marketing, which I don't actually do that much social media marketing per se. And then I'm like, actually, I'm an influencer. Like I go into this, actually, yes, I'm going to be more comfortable saying I'm an influencer, but I totally get weirded out about that too. Yeah. Because I think the reputation maybe and the stigma around it is still there. So yeah.
So yeah, I became a cybersecurity influencer. I started it about almost 3 years ago now.
Mind you, that sounds a lot more serious than like, you know, I'm a beauty influencer. Not to undermine beauty influencers. You're all doing a great job. I'm one of you. I'm like a lifestyle and comedy influencers.
Right.
But yeah. But yeah, cybersecurity influencer sounds serious.
It's also like ironic because most people in cybersecurity don't have social media because they're so scared of their online presence.
Right.
And so I became a cybersecurity influencer because I, climbed the corporate ladder. This is before I started TikTok. I was at a law firm and I just felt like I climbed the corporate ladder. I was grinding, but I felt like my purpose in life wasn't being met. And I felt kind of like hollow and empty. I was like, I'm making tons of money. I thought, by the time I got here that I'd, be really excited about it. And like something was like a huge piece of me felt missing. And I realized I like wasn't really honoring my full self in these corporate jobs. And so I tried to do transition to social media in the sense of, I'm like, I always knew that I had a bigger purpose in life. So I'll start there. And I was like, I want to help as many people as possible. I didn't know what that looked like. I've always said that even since I was a little kid. And so when social media came around and TikTok was a thing, once TikTok announced that they were moving stuff over to the US, I was like, okay, I feel comfortable. I read their privacy policy. I was like, but I'm only starting a TikTok if it's a force for good. And so I started it literally as cybersecurity girl. I had 3 pillars in mind for the reasons why I started. 1 was to get more women and diversity into STEM careers. 2 was to inspire more people to get into cybersecurity as a whole, like demystify what the heck cybersecurity is and how to like have a career in it because I've had such an amazing career. And the 3rd was just to educate the public on cybersecurity tips because I would always get asked all these crazy questions. And I was like, okay, maybe I should just start a channel about it. And it just like blew up. I mean, I will say definitely didn't do it overnight. A lot of people are like, what's your secret? And I had told myself when I started my TikTok journey that I was going to post 3 times a day for a year. And if it didn't work after a year, I'm not going to be wasting my time anymore. But at least I tried it. And I always like to say, I like try to throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks. And this just stuck. And I've like continued to grow it and build it and had so many opportunities. But I absolutely love what I do now. And a lot of people in cybersecurity don't even know I exist. Like I'll go to conferences and like, unless they're the younger generation, which is on social media, most middle to upper management have no idea who I am because they don't have social media.
Right. That's something that they kind of move away from.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I worked with investigators, like detectives, and they always said like, stay away from social media. Don't go on social media. And same with like very... IT people who are very deeply involved in IT, they would say the same thing. So it's interesting that you're kind of balancing those technically like conflicting, I guess, fields in a way.
Right.
That makes sense. What kind of engineering did you do? I wanted to ask you.
I did aerospace mechanical engineering.
Girl.
But everyone's like, you must be really smart. You always want what you can't have. Like I literally can't write. English is my first and only language and I'm terrible at it. Like really, really bad. Thank the Lord for ChatGPT because now I just like plug all of my, like what I want to say and it like makes it into this like nice little letter. The worst person in English, but like I'm good at math and science. So,
But because to me, an engineering degree sounds like something just out of space, even though like I feel like you could probably train yourself to do certain things, but engineering just sounds way too intense on math and other sciences. Like
But so does like English. Like that sounds like terrible to me. Like that sounds like the worst thing I could ever sign myself up for.
Yeah,
because I'm not good at essays and writing and just no.
That's amazing though. That's amazing that you followed something that you're good at and you're passionate about. When it comes to social media and having a presence online as someone who works in cybersecurity, what are some, I mean, I know that's like basically, I'm asking you to summarize like your whole page, but what are some like of the biggest things that are a huge no for you?
Yeah. Reusing passwords or having easy passwords. Like passwords is like absolutely number one and people like really overlook it. Make passphrases or use a password manager. People really don't realize how important passwords are. Like, I mean, once they get in, they're in, and then they can lock you out of whatever account they're trying to get in, or they'll sit in it and like monitor what's going on and then try to exploit you for other things. So passwords is huge. Don't reuse passwords. There are ways and like that hackers can use like base passwords that were already leaked on the dark web and like find other variations and then log into your accounts too. So just really have separate passwords for different things. The other thing is if there is options to turn on multi-factor authentication, which means that you are authenticating yourself twice, like if you log in with a password and then you log in with a code that's sent to your phone, or there's authenticator apps now, which I would definitely recommend the app over a phone because there's so much SIM swapping nowadays. But definitely do that. Constantly have your software updated. So a lot of people are like, I don't want to, like, I swear Apple does it where it slows my phone down. Update the software. Like, just, it needs to be, there's usually bug fixes, and it's not just the software for your phone, it's also like your apps. And I think just like be mindful of what you share. I think for me, obviously I've like picked my poison. I've chosen to be in the public eye, but there's a lot of people that I'm like, why are your profiles public? If you want your friends to see it, then obviously just accept your friends and invite your friends or add them or follow them, have them follow you. And then who else needs to see this? Like, you don't need to be showing everyone. Right. And again, there's so many softwares now where you like plug in a picture and you can see pretty much exactly where you are. And especially for parents, like they don't realize this. And I will not have my kids on social media like at all.
I have friends who are very strict about that too. And then I have others who don't really care. So why is that? Why would you not have kids?
I just think there's a lot of issues with social media. Obviously, right. The US knows that, they think that TikTok is feeding their kids certain things, but it's all social media that's feeding.
That was the question that I was going to ask you. Is TikTok as bad as they make it sound?
No. I think social media is as bad as they make it sound.
Okay.
I think social media for kids is really bad. And actually, Florida just passed a legislation around kids under 15 or something not being able to have any social media whatsoever, which I think is extremely important.
Yeah.
And will fix most of the problems that the government says TikTok is the cause for. I think banning TikTok is a Band-Aid. And we can go into that in like a second. But yeah, for kids, I mean, there's just so many online predators. There's so much cyberbullying. Like, there's so much comparison. I mean, we're adults and we compare. I'll speak for myself. I still do have comparison issues like all the time. I actually actively unfollow people that I'm like, I can't stop comparing myself to, even if they might be like a force for good. Like, if I'm not able to get my headspace out of that, like, I need to not follow
I'm not
them.
able to switch to inspiration. I'm like, how can this person inspire me?
Right.
And I start comparing myself. I usually just close my phone. I'm like, it's time for me to take a break because this is getting a little, it's true. And imagine like a 14-year-old girl.
Exactly. Like all these like kids that are so vulnerable to everything. I mean, it is insane. So it's not just like for safety, but also like for their own like mental health, which I think we saw a lot of mental health issues at the start of COVID because we were cooped up and everyone was on their phone. And that was, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to be a force for good on TikTok, because I was like, I just see so many people comparing themselves to these like adorable kids that are dancing and whatever. Like, I don't know what it is, but I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be like educating the public. So there's just a lot of issues. And if your kids are targeted, then it's really easy. Like if you're posting pictures of like, your local park or your local school and like there's a street sign or your school has a mascot, like it's very easy for people to find you. Like it's extremely easy for people to find you.
And to find your kids.
And then to take your kids. And like, I just don't want to ever put them in that position until they're probably 14 to 16. I think 16 is probably, I'm going to be the mean parent.
Yeah.
But
I think I will be too.
Yeah.
Like all the things that I was criticizing my mom for.
Yeah.
It wasn't social media. It was other things. But now I realize that I'm probably going to be the same. I'm going to be very like strict about certain things because it's insane. And the whole online predator thing, oh my God, like
it's a big deal that no one is talking, which I don't understand. No one is talking about online predators. I'm like, yes, you're upset that TikTok might be like understanding your kid more than you and feeding it videos that your kid probably shouldn't be watching, but they're looking it up anyways. I get that's an issue. But there are so many online predators and so much sex trafficking. I don't know if we're allowed to say this, like, you might have to bleep it out. But like, that is an issue. On this podcast,
you're allowed to say anything.
Okay. That's like a huge issue. And it's like a lot of it's stemming from, online presence. I actually, fun fact, I have an AirTag like somewhere on my body right now. I like sent the location to my sister because I was like, I obviously didn't like meet you in person. But I was like, okay, I have her WhatsApp, which is a pretty reliable source. And I was like, I have her social media. I have the address that we're supposed to go to. I sent it to like 5 people. I'm like, they're supposed to pick me up. I'm like, there's an AirTag. So if they take my phone away, like I literally have like all this stuff, precautions, because social media, you really don't know. I also made sure that like your last post was like recent, right? Because some people, like if hackers get into an account that has like it's a big account, they could be messaging a lot of people trying to get access to these people. So if like they've posted recently, it's not as sketchy because then, like, it's probably legit and it's not a hacker.
See, that's something that like, I bet you a lot of our listeners, myself included right now, I wouldn't have even thought about that. Like to look at those little details and things. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even know where we were at with that, but
you were telling me that you were scared to come here. No, just kidding.
Oh yeah, terrifying. My sister's. Oh no, we were talking about kids and like all of the issues that are actually happening, and I think there are just so many other issues and that are like a lot bigger than we think. Right. And if we're able to prevent our kids from that, then I'm all for blocking social media for kids.
For sure. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a good idea not to it's just hard to stop it. Like I was thinking, how do you as a parent make sure that your child doesn't use social media, especially if, they go to school and all their friends use social media. Like I was even thinking, I mean, my husband and I were talking about how like, we're not going to like give our child a phone at all. And it's like, okay, but then the child goes to school and like everybody has a phone. And it's this whole thing that you have to balance and think about as a parent. When you're on TikTok, and I rarely ever honestly go on TikTok because I find it so
addicting.
Not even addicting, but it's just so like, well, yeah, it is addicting for sure. Like you go I'm just going to scroll for 5 minutes and then an hour and a half later, like, what am I doing with my life, right?
Yeah.
But the way the algorithm works, it shows you obviously more of the things that you like pause on or you watch. And sometimes you get into rabbit holes of things. Like I remember the first time I downloaded TikTok, I somehow ended down a rabbit hole of the earth is flat theory.
Oh no.
And I literally was like watching videos where people were, and I was like, wait, this is a joke, right? And then I was like, wait, no, these people actually believe that the earth, and then I literally got sucked into it and I was like, that's how it all starts, right?
Yeah.
But I got down a rabbit hole, I don't even know how, about online predators thing and specifically pedophiles on TikTok. And I was horrified. And it's almost like
that's awful.
And this girl was showing how there's like these profiles that, if you go on like a child's profile where a parent created that, which is insane, but a parent creates a page for a child exploiting the kids. And then she went into the followers of that. I mean, it makes me, I don't even know if there's a word to describe what you feel when you look at these things, but you look at the followers and it's all men.
Yeah. And the comments are like all men. And then if there's any other video that's like not of the child, but it's like of the whole family, there's like way less interactions because but it's sad because I don't think a lot of parents do it on purpose.
Right.
Like I actually think they like might even be like trying to provide for their family or like give their kid a good life, or like it's similar to like pageant moms or like any other like moms that are just like, wanting to better their kids. And also like a lot of the kids are asking to do it.
Right.
So like in their eyes, I don't think they're really realizing that like creepy pedophiles are like watching all their stuff. And I think they might know it in the back of their head, but in their head, they're like, well, if they're not doing anything, then like, what's the harm?
Yeah. Well, I have a friend whose daughter, she wants to be a performer. Like, and she has that personality. You can already tell, she's like 5 or 6 and you can tell that she loves to be on stage. She loves to perform. She loves to do all these things. So she's like, I'm conflicted because I feel like social media could be a great opportunity for her. And she wants to be, she's like, obviously because you know see
Right.
influencers and YouTubers and all that kind of stuff. So she wants to be part of it. So my friend is like, I don't know how to do that for her so that I don't deprive her of that opportunity, and then also don't expose her to a whole bunch of things that you don't want to believe in, right? Like
Right.
as a decent human being, your whole world falls apart in your head when you realize that such evil exists out there.
Yeah. If I were her, I mean, if you really wanted to start an account, I would literally be filming in the same spot, like in like where there's nothing around you, like get white walls, I don't know, basement or something, film it in the same spot where there's like no landmarks, no nothing, just completely white or black background. And I would probably like definitely try to just like do her face or like above. Because
Right.
like if you do start doing like body shots of her like in a cute little dress, like that's creepy. I mean, for me too, like I don't know about you, but like I get crazy comments on my Instagram all the time if I ever show my foot in a photo. Like I used to like do a zoom, like whenever I'd go to the beach, I'd like do a picture of my foot and then like
Without
zoom
thinking
out.
too much of it, you're
And,
like, this
right,
is, yeah,
like,
yeah.
like look, I'm walking on the beach.
Yeah.
No, like
Yeah.
even if my foot in a heel, like if it's like a full body shot, I cut my feet out. At least I try to, because I get like really creepy. And like if I'm getting that, like, can you only imagine like your kid in a cute little bathing suit doing a dance before the pool? Like that's creepy. Like like do a head or an above and do like all white walls or background, and like never post anything outside where there's any type of landmark, sign, street sign, whatever
Just
it
that
is.
at least the location is private. so
Private.
they can- yeah.
In your house with nothing around.
Oh,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
In terms of location, you and I chatted a little bit about it. This subject is like so crazy, honestly. You and I chatted about the AI tool that can now recognize where
Where
you are
your
just
exact
by.
location.
Let's talk about that because
Yeah.
this ties really well into what we were just talking about.
Yeah. So there's
Let's
like
freak people out even more.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, that's my whole goal, right? Clickbait. No, okay. So there's like, I mean, it's not just this, there's many AI tools now where you can literally like, if someone, let's just say someone posts a story on their Instagram and they're just like walking around like a street somewhere, you can literally screenshot that story picture and upload it to this AI, and the AI will actually tell you based on like what is in the background, the exact coordinates of probably where you are. Now, I mean, it's not like 100% accurate because it's AI, but it can be like, I did one when I was walking on the streets of New York. There were literally no street signs. All you could see was like a brownstone building in the background. And it wasn't even like a building. It was literally just like bricks, which to me, like I went to school in Dallas and that looked like something that could be in Dallas. It could be anywhere. It's just like a red brick building. And it literally got my location to a T in New York. And I was just sitting there. And there's also a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of metadata connected to photos. So obviously for me, mine wasn't a screenshot of someone's photo. It was like my actual photo I was taken. And a lot of times your phone, if you haven't turned it off, like if you're able to go to your photos and like go to the map and it'll show you where you are, your phone's obviously has metadata, location data on each of your photos. So if you send that location data to someone else, they can see exactly where you took the photo without even using the AI. So like you have to turn that option off. And then now, even if you don't have that option, even if you like, you know, stalk someone randomly and you screenshot any of their photos, like for example, if you're a mom and you're taking pictures of your kids and you have like a whole slew of pictures of like family events or whatever, if it's in the general area of where you live, like parks, whatever, like I said, schools, you can plug that in and kind of get a general location of where your house is located, which is insane. Like it's not an ideal situation.
It's definitely not an ideal situation. Yeah. Okay, so people are talking more and more about it. We've figured out, which actually something that I was going to say and I totally forgot. I've heard people getting banned for talking about like children on social media and what we were just talking about. Like I've heard people getting banned talking about that, which is an interesting thing. Like you think that it's spreading awareness and it's an important thing for everyone to know. So why are social media companies, I've heard that happening specifically with TikTok. Why are they banning that? I don't know. There's all sorts of conspiracies behind it and who knows. But how do we live our lives now? Like this thing that's like right here, it's like tracking everything constantly. And obviously, you know, we're in the public eye. So we've kind of chosen the path of, well, being in the public eye and having that risk probably magnified or multiplied by many. So how do you, I guess, try not to be in a position where you're at risk all the time?
Yeah. So again, the first thing I would do is ask yourself, like, do I need to be public? Like, if you're not trying to be an influencer or whatever, like, why are you public? I don't understand anyone that would be public without, like, so really, like, take that question in, because I know I grew up in a world where you wanted, all the social media, you wanted to download everything, you wanted to share, you wanted discounts to I'll give you my email for just start locking it down. Start being very mindful of every time you're asked to share your data. Like, is it necessary? Do I have to do it? Can I check out as a guest? Do I have to have my profiles public? And then I would like start locking it down. Like, for example, if your profile is public and you're, at the beach and you're at like a specific hotel, like let's just say SLS hotel, there's so many people that like tag exactly where they are. And it makes it a lot easier for social engineers to like get into your stuff. So for example, I say this because I get really worried that if I ever say like a specific hotel that I'm staying at, because and even if I post it after I leave, it's not the risk of me being there and someone coming. It's the risk of now people knew where I was and they can use AI to either like clone my voice or pretend that they're me. And like, a lot of my personal information is out in the public. And so it's not that hard to like, maybe it won't be that hard to like verify if it's me, because they're calling like, for example, a hotel. And all you have to do is trick that one person into thinking that you're me, and then they're in. Like, how would that person know any better?
My bank.
Yeah.
Like Toronto, I don't even know if I should say that, but Toronto Dominion Bank, like TD in Canada, they just like recently asked, and I realized it's kind of a silly idea. They did voice recognition.
Yeah.
So I now, when I don't even know if I should be saying this on this episode. I'm going to call them afterwards and cancel this. But they basically have this feature where you don't have to do all the verification steps, like your birthdays or whatever. They just hear
you should probably call and cancel that.
I'm gonna call and cancel that like before this episode gets released.
Yeah.
Just so y'all know, if you're listening to this and you're a hacker, it's canceled already. Yeah. But that's like probably the stupidest idea I'm realizing now, because AI can clone your voice and then they can use that.
And you don't even have to, like, it's not that hard to like have a girl, like the Marriott people don't know what my voice sounds like. They don't know who I am.
Right.
So if you're calling and you're like, hey, just stay there, like, can you like give me whatever, like last four, like, can you give me my information or my credit card? Or I don't know what they're going to do, but like you can do that with airlines. Like none of these people actually know who you are.
Well, they have some kind of software, they told me, that uses like a whole bunch of verification, whatever they are,
right,
to determine that it is specifically your voice. Like it's done by a software. But then if you can clone somebody's voice,
or just take screen grabs or like voice grabs of like any of your past episodes or what you've said online,
like the deep web or dark
no, I mean, if I go to your profile, all I need to say is like whatever the phrase is that they're asking you to say.
Right.
I just cut words from what you said online.
And you put it together. Great. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you were saying you don't tag a hotel, so you don't let anyone know.
I try not to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do because I'm like, it's fine. But I try not to like tag a lot of places. And if I'm tagging, I like wait till I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Most of the time I just say what city I'm in. And that's after I've left too. Like a lot of people get very upset with me because my friend's like, oh my gosh, you're here. And I'm like, no, I was there 2 weeks ago. I just didn't want to post that I was there until after I've left.
Right.
So like lock your accounts down. Like don't post everything like where you are, who you are, whatever you're doing. Like it's
when you're going to the bathroom.
When you're going to the bathroom, what club you're going to, the person you just met.
Yeah.
And then like also just in general, like your digital footprint, anytime you go online, things are getting tracked. And so again, like we used to live in a world where like giving your email wasn't a big deal. Like giving your email to me is a big deal unless you're able to generate temporary emails, like that's a whole thing in itself. It's not that complicated, but it's still annoying. Just like check out as guests if you're not going like using that platform that often. Just really, really be mindful of like every website you visit. Like I'm about to I have already made sweatshirts. They haven't launched yet. That says like, I know your search history and like, I know your password. And like, it's like very easy to find a lot of this stuff. And it's like, people freak out. And I'm like, I mean, think about it. Google and everything is like a free service, but nothing is free in America or in any other place in the world. So,
right. So what do you do if you're a travel influencer and you have deals with hotels that you post when you're there? That's something freaky. I've never actually had a deal with hotel, to be honest with you, but if I ever do, and they want me to post in real time while I'm there.
Do they actually?
I don't know actually.
I've never done it. I've always wanted to. I'm like, can I
Yeah.
use my stuff? Like, I'm going to Dubai soon, and I'm like, would I be able to? And I think this is gonna air after I come back, so it doesn't matter. But I'm like, would I be able to like post this and like, can I get this like for free? Because I'm gonna post that I'm here. But I don't know. Hopefully, you don't have to do it in real time. And then usually when I go to hotels, I'm like, if anyone claims that they're me, like I like ask the front desk, I'm like, I will never be calling for anything unless it's like from my hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it does very much, but like I would just not post in real time. Like, what is the point of posting in real time?
Yeah, you would just say I'm saving all of the content, and then I will give you guys a shout out or whatever.
Yeah.
Later on. Yeah, because I was wondering about that too. I try not to post in real time as well, especially when I go to like restaurants and stuff like that. But with hotels, I was always wondering how that would work, because technically, like, you are never guaranteed to not have like a criminal who potentially watches your Instagram stories.
I mean, there's a lot of criminals out there we just don't realize.
And they use social media.
Oh yeah.
Like,
social media is like the easiest way to find information. Like, so in cybersecurity, there's this thing called OSINT, which is open source intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And like most of the information that hackers are getting is from this open source intelligence. And open source can be social media. It can be like data brokers in the US. So there's just a lot of information. And like for me, like data brokers are a huge thing in the US. Like I find it ironic. I absolutely love the US government. I think some of the stuff they're saying about TikTok, like we're in cyber warfare. I understand why they're worried. Yeah. We've been in cyber warfare since the start of cybersecurity in 1987, I think is when like the CIA triad started. It's a whole nother thing. But like there's just, we sell our data, our people's data to like everywhere, even to other countries. Like it's a free for all because the US wants to make money. And I think there was just a rule that like passed that said their data brokers are going to stop selling data into international countries. But I find it ironic that we're like blaming TikTok for like using our data in China when our data brokers, as long as you paid the right fee, you're getting all this information on people in the US. And it's a public source. Like I can go right now on hundreds of websites, look up even your first name and like even the first thing of your last initial or your phone number or any of that. There's also reverse phone lookup. So like I can, even if I just had your phone number, I'd be able to look up your name. And then from your name, I can look up like everything else about you, your address, some of them even gives you your IP address, like your parents' address, your siblings. And it's insane. And it's all public. Like I literally can do this right now in 30 seconds and like if you're in the US.
Really?
Yeah. And so I partnered, like when I first started my cybersecurity journey, because I was like, I have a big target on my back. I partnered with a company called Delete Me, and they literally actively go into all these data brokers every 2 months and delete my data because I'm like, I don't want any part of this. Like, I don't want anyone knowing who the heck I am. I mean, most people know who I am, but like
right.
that much of
there's just a level, right? Like I don't want people to know where I live necessarily, or like where my, it's a bit of a Oh.
And the other thing about the US is if anyone buys property in the US, it is impossible to get your name off the property listing, and that is public. So what I strongly recommend people do is like put it in a living trust, and like don't ask me how to do that because that's like not I paid someone to put mine in a living trust.
Okay.
But that way your name is completely disassociated with the address.
Do you know what a living trust is? Like
the
definition of it? No.
I should probably.
But your name is off the.
Yeah, it's like basically it's like a trust under your name, and it's like, but you're obviously alive still.
Yeah.
And it's like it's still underneath you, but the trust doesn't have your name in it or on it. Like it's blocked. I'm probably saying this completely wrong, but yeah, it's a living trust. That's all I got. It's just put it in a living trust, and you're the sole owner of the living trust, but no one knows because the living trusts are like locked down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look into it. It's interesting. I'm not freaked out about that stuff until I start hearing about it, and I'm like, wow, it's not even, we all know that governments are spying on us, right? Like all governments spy on its citizens.
I know.
Like
but
everywhere.
Like a lot of people are ignorance is bliss with that. Like they don't think it is. I'm like, there's a reason why they're specifically going after TikTok and not Meta. Like, let's think about it.
So you're saying that basically TikTok and Meta are doing the same stuff. Like the fact that like, they always say like TikTok is basically a software that, what was that I heard? based on your like facial features. They're basically gathering all the information from your phone, all of your apps, all of that kind of stuff. So Meta is doing the same thing.
So I worked at TikTok. I saw the whole thing. I mean, obviously, I'm not going through hundreds and thousands of lines of code, so I didn't see that. And but I do know like the people I worked with and the types of data that were collected, and like none of that was what I saw. So I don't know where all these conspiracy theories are coming from. I think it's the government, but I think Meta and TikTok are exactly the same. This might be a conspiracy theory. We'll go for it. I think the main issue is that the U.S. has complete control of Meta. And since TikTok is not like fully controlled by the U.S. government, then it's a threat. And to be fair, I get it. Like, again, we're in cyber warfare. You never know what's going on. But I do think TikTok has been extremely, extremely transparent with everything. Like, I don't know if you watched the hearings with Shou, the CEO of TikTok. There's so many issues with social media as a whole. And like that hearing was mostly about issues with social media, not necessarily issues with TikTok.
Right.
All of which could be, okay, let's ban social media for kids. Let's make every social media company be transparent with every single line of code. And why don't you audit those, both companies or all companies, YouTube, Meta, whatever. I just think because they're not fully in control and it's not a US based company, they're very, very, very worried. And I get it. It's rightfully so. But I do think TikTok has been very transparent, more transparent than any social media company I know about like what they've collected. And like they're really, really trying to answer the government's questions. So I see both sides of it. It's just, It's hard because I think banning TikTok is a Band-Aid to the problem. And I think there's a lot of other issues.
Well, they basically admitted that Twitter was all up in government's control when it was not under Musk, right?
Right.
Which is crazy if you think about and so much stuff gets censored on Instagram, right? Especially like around elections and all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting point. And I guess TikTok is in a way out of their control. There's always like a weary feeling. I just personally am not a fan of TikTok. Like I don't really like using that platform. I really love Instagram.
Right.
Just
I do
the
love
interface.
Instagram.
Yeah, I just really love it. And I wish there was a way to make it all work strictly for us. Because there's huge opportunity in social media and it's great for many other things, but it's also definitely a way to control. And did you watch that movie, Social Dilemma? The documentary, yeah. I watched it, and then like a month later, I started the social media career of mine. So I was like, damn it, I'm like doing the complete opposite. But I do feel like they missed a lot of like the good stuff that it also has done. I really appreciate all of the concerns that they brought up. But it's funny, like I saw one of the main guys who like basically produced it or he was in it. Right. He has a social media presence. So I'm like, wait a minute, Yeah. So
you got to pick your poison. I also think I think the government's just trying to do its best to protect our people. Like at the end of the day, it's like the bottom line. Like the U.S. wants to be generating income strictly in the U.S. Like it's a lot more complicated than we think, and I totally get that. The reason why I like TikTok is because it pushes it out to everyone. It doesn't really care like about the amount of followers you have. It pushes it out the same way to everyone, and it's based on like
weird though, because like sometimes I'll get like Instagram is much more consistent.
Exactly.
TikTok is like a video that will have millions of views on Instagram for me will have like 400 views sometimes on TikTok, and I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
It is strange. I really like the fact that I am able to reach people that aren't following me. I think Instagram, it's like random. Like sometimes because we have a large following, it is consistent because it's going to be consistently to our following, and then sometimes it randomly goes out to everyone else. Whereas TikTok, it always starts with everyone else. It really doesn't matter that much about your following. And then it's like how much watch time everyone's, like the watch time and the interactions. And then it will continue to get pushed out. And I think there's like 4 levels of like types of virality to the videos. And it's like based off of interactions and watch time for TikTok.
What about OnlyFans?
I couldn't tell you. I've actively avoided that website. I don't ever want to be on it.
We were talking about how it's crazy how many like emails I get, and you were mentioning you get some requests to people somehow draw conclusions after watching our content that we would be interested in something like that.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning before we started recording that you get quite a few requests or questions from former OnlyFans
Yep.
participants. I don't know what you would
participants, players in the game. I don't know. Oh yeah, a lot of like I think like past OnlyFans is what I'm assuming. Past OnlyFans, mostly girls. I don't think I've ever gotten a guy. Past OnlyFans models have asked me if there's any way they can delete their photos online, and it's really hard because there's not. Like you can delete your profile, but any pictures that you posted that were like sent to someone, I don't know how the platform works, so I really don't understand it. But like I'm assuming that like photos get sent to your inbox or like whatever messages get sent, like it's like an inbox type of thing. I have no idea.
You could probably screenshot and then
exactly you screenshot it. You can take a photo of the photo because like I know some apps like don't permit you to screenshot or like for example if you're watching. I only know this because I was watching ABC News on my phone because I just did an interview with them and I was trying to screen record the interview, but I couldn't because it's like wasn't allowed. So, but you can still take pictures of your phone. Like there's so many ways that you can take pictures. And then once those people have pictures, they can either upload it or share it with friends or whatever. And it's just like this, it's exactly like a computer virus. It literally just goes everywhere. So once you have photos uploaded, unless it's like a trusted friend and even that, like just don't put out photos that you never want to be circulated because they're going to be circulated. Like I can help you delete it from the source, but it's already been spread to other sources and then all those are new sources of truth, which like is impossible to track. You cannot track that. We're not on like a blockchain where like you can track every interaction.
I was recovering from a surgery once and I was really bored and I found this documentary called Life After Porn.
Oh boy. Wait, is it good? Because I love documentaries.
It's decent. Okay. Like if you ever wonder what happens when a porn star quits doing porn, you watch that documentary, you know? I never wondered that really. But
you watched it.
But I watched it because I was like, I watched so many, it was like a 2-week period that I was recovering from it. I was like, I've watched so many things. Like what else could I watch? And I was like, Life After Porn. And then I like read the synopsis or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, why not? But it's basically, it was before obviously OnlyFans, you know, generation, all that kind of stuff. But they basically talk about how it is impossible. Like it's forever stays with you. You're always going to be for the rest of your life a sex worker.
Right.
And it follows like, I think 3 or 4 former porn stars. And one of them like worked really hard on getting all the content off the platforms that she was on. And then,
yeah, but it's just off the platform. It's not off of like people's phones.
And I think it was like her son or something came from school one day and he was getting bullied because somebody found his mom online. And she like worked so hard to get all of those, you know. So I think obviously, you know, don't put out something that you don't want to put out. But also I think a lot of those cases, like they thought they wanted it to be put out. They didn't care. And then they decide to have like a switch in their, you know, life, career, and they're like, oh shit, this is going to be there forever.
And that's the same. It's not even like, so it's like with videos and whatever, like that's the same for everything. But even social media posts and like Snapchat, we can go to Snapchat and then we'll go to social media. But like Snapchat, like a lot of kids just like are like, oh, it disappears after 24 hours, like, or whatever, after they open it. It's like, you can literally take a screenshot of the phone. Like it doesn't ever disappear. Like if you don't want your mother seeing it or your father seeing it or a loved one seeing it, I like to say my grandma because my grandma would be so disappointed if I ever did anything like that. Then like don't send it. The other thing is like the internet always remembers. There's a thing called like the Internet Archive. It used to be called the Wayback Machine. And so like a lot of people used to post like when you're younger, you post like stupid stuff on Twitter or X or on Instagram. And then you delete it after when you get older because you're like, oh, well, this is embarrassing and I don't want people thinking about it. If you go to like the Internet Archive, you can go to like your exact profile, you know, 10 years ago, and it'll show you what it looked like, which includes all the stuff that you previously deleted. So it's like, I don't think people realize anytime you're like on the internet sending photos back and forth or whatever it is, like just be very mindful and that's another reason why I don't want my kids to have stuff like this. Cause when I was younger, I had no idea.
Right.
You don't know that. Like, and you don't understand the consequences of it, like at all. Like I was born and raised like in the chat room era, like AOL. And like my mom would obviously be like, don't go into random chat rooms. It's similar to like chat roulette and stuff too. Like that is a whole nother.
We had back home ICQ. Did you guys have this here?
What's that?
ICQ.
It's Omegle now, right? Is that what it's called?
I don't know, but it had like a very distinct sound that was really hilarious. I'm gonna find it. Okay. I'm gonna do a test of like how old the followers are. It was called ICQ and it was like a chat. Like you go on your computer and you chat with people,
Yeah.
and everybody was using it back home.
Right.
And it was hilarious. But I'll find it and I'll play it because it's actually like a really... I feel like if you hear the sound, you will recognize it.
Yeah.
ICQ sound. Because I wonder if it's the same thing. Because North America had a little bit different things than we did. But was it this one? Oh, this is an ad.
Right?
Yes, that one. That one. No, not that. This is some modern stuff. I don't know what this is. But yeah, that one, like, it had like
I don't remember that.
No?
No. But we would go into like chat rooms, like random chat rooms, and we thought it'd be so cool to talk to people from all over the world. Little did we know we could have been talking to like creepy pedophiles. We'd give them like our phone number. I hope my mom's not listening to this.
Wow.
So the whole thing was like, I think you did ASL, like age, sex, location.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd like tell them all that. And I never would say like exactly where I was. And I'd always lie about my age because you wanted to be like cool and older. But then like, I think there were a few times, this is so bad. I'm just remembering this now. I hope my mom's not watching, but she watches every podcast. I actually like one time gave my landline phone number because we don't have cell phones at the time.
Right.
And they like called and I answered. But like that, like your kids just don't, like I
You
have
just don't
no
know,
idea.
exactly.
We think it's like cool and like it's like same with Omegle, like you're like randomly getting, I think that's what it's called, like randomly getting matched with people and like video chatting. Like we were bored, we thought it was interesting, but you just don't know who you're talking to on the other side, and I think it's like terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on dating? Like what I don't know if I shouldn't say I'm proud of it. I've known couples that have met on Tinder and they're married now and they have children. But I have never used a dating website or app. My husband and I met 10 years ago. Tinder was just starting.
Right.
Is there like a I guess a scarier aspect of a dating app than there is like with regular social media? Because I feel like you can use Instagram as a dating app too, probably, if you really wanted to.
You
But
slide into people's DMs. I think
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
more
yeah.
normal. I mean, there's a ton of romance scams. Usually it's for like older people that are on that like just aren't as aware of what's going on, which there are a lot of websites, and actually if you go to my page I show you, but there's a way that you can like, if you think someone's too good to be true, and I know my friend sent this to her mom, and her mom actually found out she was getting scammed, but like there's a way that you can like take their profile pictures and like plug it in, and it will show all of their online profiles and where they're found, and you can make sure that they're actually who they say they are. But I tried to do the whole online dating thing for so long, and it's not my cup of tea. But like my cousin got married to the person that she met on. Like I know so many people that it worked. And maybe this is just me being like weird. I just feel like I can't.
Yeah.
And it's
I
not
could
because
never.
I'm like, above it or whatever. I just feel like I've tried and it just never ever worked. Like I'm a
Right.
person that like loves organic meetups, loves
Yeah.
I'll go up to a guy at a bar if I think they're attractive, and maybe I'm just a
You'll
little...
go up to a guy at the bar?
Yeah.
I
know what I want.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I'm so incredibly traditional and have always been when it comes to that stuff. Like if my husband didn't ask me for my phone number, I would have never.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
ever.
I've been trying. Well, this is back in the hustle culture, right? But I
Okay.
think I literally every single boyfriend I had, which has been 4, I was the one that went up to them.
Really?
Like in high school, I went up to him. I had like one of every, like high school, college, right after college.
One from every phase
One
of
from
life.
every phase of life. They're all great. But I
Yeah.
went up to every single one of them.
Interesting.
Obviously, that didn't work out. We're still single here. But I've been really trying to break into my feminine and like let a guy come to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still not working out very well, but...
You mentioned that you were struggling with that. This is a subject that I really love discussing on my podcast because it's surprisingly a huge pain for pretty much every woman I meet in this part of the world. It became a struggle for me after working in the corporate world, even though I'm from Moldova, and
Right.
Everyone I meet in North America, actually, whenever they hear anything related to Eastern Europe or Russia, they right away think of all those like giant bouquets of roses and all of those, because that's how it is back home. You don't approach the guy; he always comes to you first. Like there's, the
that's
dating
what my grandma
thing.
taught me. It just never worked out.
But it's interesting because you definitely can't help but fall into more of like a masculine, like like all-time masculine figure, because there's got to be a
Right.
balance. You also like I really don't believe that you can always be in your soft feminine and feel, you know, there's a balance.
Right.
How are you going through that? Because that's a fairly recent transition for you. How are you moving towards your feminine? How is that kind of working?
Yeah. So, like you said, I've been very much in my masculine. I think the feminist movement, specifically in the US, has put a lot of females in their masculine. And it's been daunting for a lot of males at this point. Because
Very emasculating to men.
Exactly. It's very emasculating for men. Because, women, we can do it. But the whole purpose is to let the men do it. To a certain extent. And so I feel like when I was in corporate, I was grinding. I used to be very girly when I was like really little. Like I'd wear Barbie heels and I'd like dress up to school and I loved it. And then like when I started getting like in my grind, which was when I was in college or when I was starting to apply to college. When I started getting like in my grind, I really stopped like doing a lot of feminine stuff, which is even like getting ready for this so for this podcast, for example, I'm like, no, I want to like feel cute and look good. Like sometimes I don't even like, I used to not wear any makeup to podcasts. I was like, no, I mean, I'm in tech. Like I can just be part of being in tech. Like this is what I look like. And so like grinding really made me ignore a lot of my feminine traits. And I realized that like my superpower is being able to do both. Like I want to be, and I also want to be able to drop into my feminine when I want to be. And so one of the reasons why I quit corporate was because I was grinding so much and I was like, this isn't truly who I am. And for me, I've always wanted to, I actually thought I was going to be like a young mother. Like that's how feminine, I was like, I'm going to be a young mother. Like motherhood's like, I want to be like an elementary school teacher. I want to just like teach and like follow the man and like whatever. And I'm probably going to get a lot of slack for this being like a woman in cyber, but like that's how I always wanted to be. And then corporate kind of changed me. And so I'm really trying to drop back into my feminine and like, I don't know what that looks like besides like, getting dressed up, feeling pretty, like surrendering a lot of times rather than trying to take control and like letting a man lead. So if I'm like going on a date, like whatever, letting him lead, letting him set up, I don't have to be the one in control. And just like trusting that process versus controlling the process.
Yeah. 100%. I think in this part of the world, a lot of, and I'm not, I am being critical. I always give these disclaimers. I'm like, no judgment. I'm about to judge,
Yeah.
But in this part of the world, that whole concept of like masculine, feminine energy has gone so like sideways. And I always said like, I'm a firm backwards. I've always been a believer in equal opportunity, but I really don't think we should be competing with one another because that's not healthy, And most like very, masculine women that I know in my life, they would love to have a stronger male figure besides them who is going to be like, just relax. It's fine. Like I'll take care of things. I'll plan the date. I'll pay the bill. And it's, I made a whole career out of talking about this stuff, right? In my part of the world, there's other issues maybe, but I feel like people have really figured out this whole like equality of opportunity without totally diminishing and destroying each other's roles.
Right. And for a while, like I was one of those where I was like super like, again, grinding. I was wearing the pants and then I was like, why can't a guy just be like even more masculine and like sweep me off my feet? And it's like, well, I'm sure they could, but there's like very few men that are able to do that. Especially if you're like, we like to call them boss babes, which I felt like I really like embodied for a really long time. And I still think I am that, but I don't have to be that 24/7.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that 24. It's exhausting. It's not where I'm supposed to be or what I want to be. It's not going to lead me to where I want to be. And so it's figuring out that balance of like, when I need to be in my like boss babe, thing, I'll be in it. But I'm trying to make every kind of moment, if I can, be as feminine and as light and as possible. Like even with like, I went to a conference, I was like, I'm going to dress up every day. I want to like look cute and like feel like my best and just be like my full feminine self. And I don't have to like, look like a slump because everyone else looks like men and not wearing makeup.
Yeah. Come with me to Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
After spending like 2 weeks there, because you cannot go to take out the trash unless you put on makeup, because God forbid you run into a neighbor and not even like, I'm married, but
Right.
like, God forbid I leave my apartment when I'm there, like staying with my mom without makeup, because you're gonna run into somebody's gonna talk to somebody else and tell them, they saw Cristina from Canada, oh my God, she looks so pale, she doesn't wear makeup, like all of these
Is she
things.
sick?
Is she sick? You got to like always look good put together.
Yeah.
It used to be like ridiculous. Like, you used to have to wear heels everywhere you'd go. Like, there's still women, sometimes you go to the grocery store and she looks like she's going to like a wedding.
Yeah.
And she just went to the grocery store to get some eggs, you know what I'm saying? But
Love
like,
that for her.
yeah, but there's just like this effort that is always being put in. The flip side of that is, and it's changing that a little bit, but men used to not put any effort in themselves back there. Now it's changing a little bit because so many women have left and like married other, cultures and stuff like that. So we're like, oh, we have to like, put a little bit of effort in ourselves so that our women just like don't leave. I'm gonna get canceled for that.
No.
Although in my part of the world, you don't get canceled. You just say whatever.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
It's fine. I know I'm probably gonna get canceled from all of like the women that are like, she's like a, but
I don't understand what's wrong with like wanting to be like, not wanting to be like a man. Why has that become such a problem in this part of the world? Why can't I come out and say, or you can't come out and say publicly, like, hey, I still want to be in my feminine. I still want to have a masculine guy by my side. And I work in this field that is,
Right.
like I can, why do I have to go to such extremes? Like, if I'm working in this field, I have to be this way and that's it. And I can't tone it down or turn it off when I'm at home.
yeah,
It's just it's a culture of extremes.
I don't know why. I just feel like a lot of people are like feminist, like she's like a strong woman and like leading cyber, and I am, but like I don't have to be that all the time. And people would get really mad at me when I was like, okay, if I've ever taken on a first date and he's not paying, like I'm gonna offer because I'm gonna be nice about it. But if anyone
I wouldn't
accepts,
even offer.
I know I need to get over it. If anyone accepts that, it's immediately never gonna be a second date, like ever. Like I need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I can take care of myself, but when I do that, then I like get more my masculine, and like I want a guy to like, it's not taken care of. I want a guy to lead me.
Yeah.
And I can't be led if I'm the one like controlling and leading myself.
Exactly.
So
yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thanks for
I really
having me.
appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course.
This was a wonderful conversation. And thank you to our wonderful listeners for tuning into this episode. I will see you next week.